All right, the next thing I have to do before I can pour the concrete in this basement floor is get my heated floor system started. I'm going to be doing radiant floor heat that's going to be connected to an outdoor wood boiler. So I'm going to be running PEX tubing throughout this whole concrete slab in the basement, and then the outdoor wood boiler is going to heat water, and then that water circulates throughout the whole floor in the concrete, heating that floor and heating this whole space, and potentially heat rising up to help heat the first floor too. So I've never done anything like this before, or never done radiant heat before, but I've heard a lot of good things about it. It seems to be a really efficient way to heat a space. I think it's going to help that I did ICF basement walls too, because that's a really efficient insulated basement system. So it's going to help hold all that heat in here and give it a chance to help rise and heat the rest of the house too. So first thing I need to do is get some vapor barrier down. Then I got to lay this fancy insulation down, and then some wire mesh, and we'll go from there. So I got this vapor barrier all down. I kind of gave up on this perimeter taping where I was curling it up and starting to tape it across there. I kind of gave up on that, partly because I ran out of tape, but also because I don't think it's gonna do anything. I mean, this is really nice tape. It's sticking pretty well to the foam, but I feel like moisture can still creep past there if it wanted to. You can already see moisture right there. But I think it's kind of a losing battle from when I poured the footing, because there's no vapor barrier under the footing. So this is from rain. This isn't like groundwater or anything. It just rained yesterday. But moisture can still creep up through the footing and kind of work its way up that wall if it wanted to. So I don't think taping this entire seam is going to do anything. I'll probably end up cutting it right on top of where the foam is. I might try to seal that joint with something. I don't know what the proper thing to do is. Like I said, I think it's a losing battle. I've seen some people, if I thought about it, I've seen some people put this vapor barrier over their footer before they build their walls, and then once they do get to the point where I'm at, they tape into that vapor barrier. So you already have a cold joint there between your wall and the footing. So some people put their vapor barrier across there, or you could put it under the footing, but that's kind of a pain to work with. So I'm not that worried about it. I know plenty of buildings and houses without any vapor barrier at all, so I think I'm gonna be okay. There's worse things. And then I don't know the professional way to detail around any of these penetrations, so I just taped it the best I could. I think it'll be okay. And also, I'm gonna start putting this foam down now. This foam, it's a little bit pricier, and it's got these knobs in it so you friction fit the pecs, but it's a little pricier because it's got this vapor barrier built in. Technically, I wouldn't have to put this down. This is this melted plastic over this foam, the orange stuff. That's a vapor barrier, so I'm kind of doubled down on the vapor barrier. So this is nice. They go together really easy. They just snap together like a tongue and groove. And then you just got to make sure they have little dashes. These little hash marks, you got to make sure they line up when you do the overlap like I did. So you have a full sheet there, and then that's half, and you just got to cut it to make sure those little hashes line up. So then right here I'll have a full sheet, and it'll just keep repeating. It also helps, I made sure my subgrade, my gravel was graded really nice. If you're not graded really flat, it's a pain to get these to sit nice. Feels warmer down here already. It's definitely brighter with that orange, but those go together pretty easy. I had to make a cut here, and then I got to start over again because I have a footer poured. It's like from here to here, I have a footer poured here because there's going to be a load-bearing wall to carry this wall on the existing house and catch this beam. That's why there's not a column here. And then it's going to be load-bearing for the addition. So I didn't want my wall on top of concrete, on top of foam, on top of the footer. So I want that concrete to flow in there. So it's concrete on top of concrete. That makes sense to me. So there's going to be a little void there. It's going to look goofy. And then I'm going to start again with all the insulation right here. Andrew's going to help. He's bringing down some more panels right now. There you go. Sorry, you gotta make sure these notches line up.
Oh. I've never done something so fancy before. Do you have to like stagger it or stagger the joints?
That's what I'm doing right now.
I'll just do this part. This part seems okay. Up to my speed. I'll let you do the cutting.
All right, we got the rest of this down, and then I went ahead and taped where it ended all along here, where I'm gonna have this, where I want the concrete down to the footer. I ended up taping that seam because I know it can be a problem if the concrete ends up creeping under there and then it gets under all the insulation and it starts floating up. So I know that can be an issue. I don't know if this tape's going to be enough. I'll have to ask the concrete guys about that. And then same thing by the drain. And then I'll end up like spray foaming around these penetrations. And then I don't know if I mentioned it, but I went with a 2-inch thick foam insulation board. It's an R10 with this, so this main part's 2 inches, and then this little puck's like 3/4 or something. But they make a little bit thicker and a little bit thinner. I think most people go with like around an R10. This product I use is called Creatherm. There's other companies, other name brand companies, but this is what I could get locally. So I could have saved a little bit of money by just going with a normal flat insulation board, but I think it's going to be worth it because of these pucks. You'll see in a minute, it makes it a lot easier to snap in and weave your pecs around. You just snap it in and it should be good. If I went with a normal insulation board, you have to get like insulation staples and it seems to be more of a pain. So I think I'm glad I went with this. Another benefit to these insulation panels that I didn't think about is that it holds my mesh up an inch. Because it's got these pucks for the tubing, they stick up an inch, and that allows the concrete to get under that mesh and actually do something. I see all the time, I see people and concrete guys, they'll throw their mesh down if they didn't have this insulation. They throw the mesh down on the subgrade on gravel or whatever, and then they're supposed to, as they pour, they're supposed to pull the mesh up, and some people do, they have little hooks, and as you're pouring concrete, you're supposed to pull the mesh off the bottom so that concrete can encapsulate the rebar or the mesh so it can do its job. I don't care what anyone tells you, it is very ineffective to just throw your mesh flat on the ground and then the rebar on top of it. You need to encapsulate that reinforcing for it to do its job. So that's nice that the concrete will be able to flow underneath there. All right, I think I'm ready for concrete. I got that vapor barrier down, my insulation, all that PEX run, and then some wire mesh down. I didn't get enough mesh. I think I'm short 2 sheets, but that's not a big deal. So I am having a concrete company pour this for me because I want it to be a nice floor. So I'm waiting for a few quotes to come back, but one guy came and looked at it, and depending on what guy I go with, the guy that looked at it said he was a lot more used to using a pump trailer. I left all this subfloor off because I thought it would be a lot easier to get a pump truck, a boom truck, like I used to pour these walls, because this is all open and you can reach over, and I think it'd be a lot easier to work with, except for under the house. You got to kind of stretch under there. But the guy I talked to, said he's a lot more used to using a trailer, and it's probably a little bit cheaper. So depending on that, I might be putting the floor on before they pour the floor, because it'll be at least 2 weeks before they got time to pour the floor. Plus, he said it'd be nice to get it out of the weather, out of the sun and rain, which I would like to get it out of the rain. I don't want rain to get in here because it's got nowhere to go with that vapor barrier down and stuff. But I don't know, we'll see. We'll either be pouring this floor or building this subfloor first. The only problem with that is I have a load-bearing wall right there, so I wanted the concrete to be poured so I can build my wall, because that's got to have, these floor joists need to have bearing on that wall. So if I'm building this floor first, I got to make like a temporary wall to support that end of the floor joist. Nothing serious, just enough to hold the floor system. And then when it comes time for them to pour, I can knock that out, they could pour it, and then I can build my permanent wall. It's not ideal, but it might be what I have to do. And yet this sewer pipe is temporary. Everyone always asks about that. It's just temporary right now until I do the plumbing in the addition. Then it'll probably run along this back wall, but I'll probably have to get that out of the way for the concrete guys, I'm sure they'll bump their heads on it 20 times. So yeah, it's either the floor, the subfloor, or the concrete floor next. But kind of in a hurry now. The leaves are changing. It's the beginning of October. I don't know how much more I'm going to get done this year before the snow starts flying. I'd really like to get the concrete poured, this subfloor on, and I got a big tarp just to get it weatherproofed for this winter. I really want to get backfilled. So yeah, thanks for watching.